it's Raquel. Welcome back to Recovery to Wellness. This is where survivors radiate badassery. It is currently October, I said August the first clip, but it's October 8th, 2024. And I have a book review, video book review number 12, because I'm doing it in, at least the video book review parts are coming out from the order of which I read the books, not like the number of which that book is in a sense. So I know it's a bit confusing. It's even more confusing in my blog, I swear. This is the 12th review in a sense. I actually have this more scripted than normal. I have my notes all here, so I'm going to go back and forth between filming it and reading the script and then coming back talking to you about it, and then also doing the clips like separate clips. So that is that. Lots to say, lots to talk about, but for the purposes of this video, it's a video book review, and we are experiencing the review for Clear the Clutter, Find Happiness. And this is a 2014 book by Donna Smallin. I got it from the library, and this is the state of all the page flags. Those are all the page flags. I didn't do every single one, but quite a bit of them. So it has that. So I will tell you a little bit about the book first. So information about the book, written by Donna Smallin, Smallin, published in 2014. It is 288 pages, and the genre is nonfiction, home, and organizing. Summary. It's a very compact book filled with lots of encouraging quotes and sort of mantras that Donna Smallin has used herself, tips, there's little illustrations and stuff. I'll show you some of it. I love the hourglass ones. The paper is pretty colorful. There's just it's just a very easy to read, accessible kind of book, which is great. And that was definitely one of the big things that pulled me aside to really want to read it, because I kind of already loved it before when I browsed through the library and looked at it and such. And when I actually wound up reading it, it was everything as amazing and wonderful as it could be. I read it in 4 days. I read it all in the beginning of September of 2024. The other things I want to mention, it's a predominantly safe book. There's not really a lot of mental health related stuff with it. I will say some of the criticisms I had about it, or at least just questions I had about it, was how are we defining clutter? And what does that definition really look like? Oh crap. I forgot this was not on repeat. Sorry. There we go, it's better. Clutter is not uniquely defined in a sense, and I feel like my perspective on clutter is a little bit different than other people's perspective on clutter. I will say, and actually this is kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but something to look forward to in the rest of this video, is that I have been able to take the lessons that I've learned from this book and start implementing them into my life. And that was actually one of my discussion questions as well, is are there nonfiction books that you've read that have allowed you to, you learn something from them and you started implementing them into your life? Or is it the case of maybe you read a book about it but then you didn't quite follow up with actions of it in a sense? So just kind of discussion question for you. How do you tend to fall? I tend to read a lot more nonfiction than fiction. Although I read a fiction novel this year, I just still have to finish the written review for it, and then finish the spoiler version review of it, so of the video book review. But that's a separate aside. So I guess how is clutter being defined? Because I personally like things. I like a lot of things, and I don't buy things because I'm what is Joe down the road gonna think of me about it? Think of me from that thing. I don't think of it that way. I think it's just cute or it's nice or I want it, so then I get it and that kind of thing. But I also want to look at a book called The Year of Less, which is kind of about the opposite of that, of how, going against the sort of American consumerism and how, having less is more in a sense. So that's a book that I do want to check out and read in the future, but I just haven't quite yet. This book, for sure, is all about decluttering, which is great because, like, one of the things I also noticed, we had a group at Althea too, and one of the pictures is a super, super, super cluttered, like, messy kind of room, and, like, one of the patients was talking about their experience of relating to that photo, and, like, I didn't say it, but in my head I was like, I had just finished reading this book, and I was like, that looks like a fantastic decluttering project. I would love to, like, unpack all of that, and it was just, like, really cool. So I have also gotten a lot of new tips, tricks, and ideas out of this book. Again, I'll talk about that in a little bit. This is probably still very much all over the place. I apologize. But it has a lot. It's like, it also says it's clear the clutter, find happiness, and then 1-minute tips for decluttering and refreshing your home and your life. So again, they're like really short little bits, and I just love that kind of style of book, really, where it's like, it's just short, it's compact, it gets it done, it gets the job done easily, and it's accessible, and it's like, I don't have to like be like so many pages deep into it, or, you know, make it so dense and boring that I'm losing interest in it in a sense. Again, I read it in like 4 days. I fucking loved it. It was such a good book. But other themes, again, organization, tips for like donating, or like where you can kind of find resources for donating materials if you have too much of excess or whatever, that kind of thing. It also reminded me a little bit about Simpler Living for a Frantic World, which is a book that I actually did a 3-part review for, a video book review for, but I never actually watched it again. That was a book that I read a couple years ago, I think, and it was a really, really good book. If not last year, or maybe the year before. It's a very good book. Slow. It kind of reminded me of that. There's also another book that made me think of some of the tips within this book, was about sort of like cleaning and stuff, like house cleaning, because again, it's like about decluttering and making your space clutter free, or as clutter free as you are open to being, in a sense. So one of the things I mentioned was like some of the different cleaning supplies, or the types of tools and supplies that you can use for cleaning, like the cleaning caddy, like a little travel caddy. There's also, I really liked the one about getting that over-the-door shoe bag holder, and you can just put different cleaning items in that. I think that's a fantastic idea. That's definitely something I'm going to look into, especially when I move out and go to my new place. Other things about the cleaning, it reminded me of the book Clean My Space. I haven't actually read it. I do own it now, but it reminded me of that book, which I'm very excited to go into read that next book when I get the chance. Trigger warnings, not really anything mental health, except for page 222 to 223 does talk a little more specific about calories and like losing weight and stuff, which I thought was kind of a downfall in a sense. But I think if it would have been framed as like, here's how you can gain muscle versus like, here's how to lose weight, and it's not like how to lose weight, it's just like it mentions numerical numbers and like calories and stuff, and like counting calories. So that I felt was the only thing that was kind of like, I would have preferred if it was not in the book, or like if it was mentioned beforehand that it would be in the book. But overall, pretty much mental health free, like no issues really. And then I think some of the things I found critical points for, I found like I could just kind of ignore, like I was like, whatever, like doesn't really apply to me, I don't really agree with it, but it's whatever, I can let it slide. Also, rating of this book, 5 out of 5, hands down. Love this book. I like freaking love it. It was great. So I'm going to film a part where I'm going to tell you a little bit of the specific quotes that really resonate with me. Again, my book review will be on my WordPress blog, which is the same username as here, just at .wordpress.com. Eventually, once everything is figured out, in a sense, because I have the whole review written, except for this bit. This is the video book review, but I have the whole review itself handwritten. I just have to type it all up and then put it into a book review and put it into the recovery reads reports. But that's going to take me a while, but once it's all fully up there online, I will let you know. And to get a better idea as to what this book was, and for you to sort of formulate some of your own thoughts about it, or formulate your thoughts about it from my thoughts about it, and all that jazz, I'm going to read you some of the quotes that I picked out just for this. So, one of the quotes that I liked, that I actually referenced in a group around the time that I started reviewing this book, was the do the math challenge. Do you have 10 minutes? 10 minutes a day times 7 days a week times 52 weeks is about 60 hours. And like, just that, like, this is on page 23 and from 2014 Smallin. And it's just like really, it's just like you say you have no time to declutter, but if you have 10 minutes every day, you can have 60 hours in a year, which is a lot to do stuff with. So I liked that quote. Again, that kind of like you have, you know, you can just have more time to do the things. So there's more time than you recognize. There's also a good quote on that topic that I really liked. It's not on this one. No, hold on. Where is it? So that reminds me of the quote, the next time you hear yourself complaining about not having time to clean up your home, stop. All we have is time. How we choose to use it is up to us. And that was from Smallin 2014, page 71. I thought that was just fantastic. And it's so true, right? I mean, like, I know I fall into those traps sometimes where I'm like, oh, I don't have enough time, I don't have the time to do it. But if you really do think about it, like, we all really have time. It's just that how are we using that present moment, or how are we learning from the past to not repeat the same habits and mistakes into the future, and learning from it and just all of that. So I really liked that quote. This one is out of order from how I wrote it down, but we're just gonna go with it. Another quote that I really liked was, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. And that was a quote from James Baldwin, and that was on page 178 of Smallin. And I think that's just it's like so simple and beautiful and profound, and like, I don't know, I think it would just be a cool thing to incorporate into a group or something sometime, for my future at least. And also another one from actually Smallin herself on page 162 is, if you use it every day, it gets to stay. Otherwise, put it away. And that's just like a great little, again, like those little like things where like you can do trying to formulate my thoughts. When I get home from work, right, I can take off my work attire. This is my work attire today. So take off my work attire, get dressed in my pajamas, and instead of just plopping the clothes that I wore that are still kind of okay onto the giant pile on my floor, I could like just put them away, or if they're dirty, put them into the laundry and like the hamper and such. Like, you know, just doing it little bits at a time rather than waiting until it's a huge issue or a huge project, which is very overwhelming, is probably like a better kind of thing. Like, again, like Slow from Brooke McAllery 2018, you know, small incremental change in progress, small incremental action every day will get me further than one big occasional change. That quote, that's also a really prominent quote out there. Another one that I really liked is about how you can do a three-ring binder for suggestions of, like, if you have an article that you read from in a magazine, or if you have a newspaper article from something else, or like an article that you found a blog post online, and putting that together into like a binder, in the sense of, this came up on page 41 as well as 185, which reminded me of a motivation binder that I want, like a motivational binder I wanted to create for myself years and years, like 10 years ago, and that I could still like revitalize and rework, and I just think it's great. So like coming up with like having like tabs, you can get, you know, have the article out, put it into a clear, you know, top down plastic sheet, and then put it into a binder and just kind of keep it like that and keep it organized. Thought that was a good idea. This is a classic one for kind of Caria. I feel like the Caria situation is, if you can't be a good example, then you'll just have to serve as a horrible warning. And that was from Catherine Aird, a novelist, on page 157. I just think it's a little fun nugget in a sense. Another quote I have is, recognize that you are not the same person you were 10 years ago. Your interests, tastes, and styles have changed. Make a decision to keep only those things that are meaningful to you at this point in your life. That goes for gifts you've received too. from Small in 2014, page 132. And it also totally reminded me at the time that I read it, and also later in the review, which I totally forgot about, I wanted to do like a 10-year, like every like lesson I've learned over the 10 years that I've been in my recovery from mental health conditions. But that's something I still haven't worked on at all to create it as a video. But I do want to go back to like a storyboard or something and like kind of figure out how I want to craft that message. I mean, it was my 10-year reunion of that, in a sense, was a couple weeks ago, really. It's not a couple weeks ago anymore, but still, it is still a project that I find valuable and I think could be really interesting. Another quote that I really liked that I definitely want to mention and to keep mentioning in this review is, every time you see something that would take just a few minutes to do and you think, I'll get to it later, do it now instead. Your future self will thank you for it. From page 214, which I will refer to in another bit in a moment. And then another quote is, make it a habit. Link chores with key daily activities to remind you to do them. For instance, brushing your teeth, rinse out the sink and wipe the faucets. Stopping for gas, empty the trash bag in your car. Getting dressed, make the bed. Getting undressed, put away clothes or in the hamper. Put away the clothes or in the hamper, as I was just mentioning in another quote as well. And another one would be, finish eating dinner, wash the dishes right away instead of leaving it for later. And that was on page 220, which I think, again, just so valuable. Like, I actually have been doing, like, when I'm brushing my teeth in the morning, I like rinse out the sink a little bit and like just kind of get that done. I don't have a lot of, I'm not like super pro cleaner in a sense. Like, I don't really know I'm still learning. I don't know all those things yet. But I'm hoping once I can kind of create my own sort of system or like have a sort of routine in a sense to it, then maybe that'll help and I'll get a better idea, especially once I read that Clean My Space book. That might also be really helpful for me. Another thing that this book mentioned was like getting like fun kind of sponges or fun like colored towelettes, or not towelettes, but like cleaning cloths or like, you know, things like that, like, you know, little towels, like dish towels and stuff. Like, just like having fun colors or patterns can just make it a little bit more fun. And also it touches a little bit onto like mindfulness too, of trying to be really mindful in the moment of like, okay, I'm washing this dish and what does it feel like to, you know, notice the texture of the food that's still left over on the plate, and then the water washing it away, the warmth of the water, the smell of the soap, like all of those things. So it can really, and then also another thing that this book mentioned was like if you wanted to listen to like an audiobook, or didn't say a podcast, but you could totally listen to a podcast or music and such while you cook or clean or whatever, mainly clean and declutter, that would be a fantastic option as well. And then along those lines, chores do not need to be done perfectly. Done is perfect, from page 278. And the final quote that I will share, I think I wrote it down that I would share this quote. So we went through like 9 quotes, so it's a lot of quotes. Probably some extras too. You can choose to create the life you want, or you can continue to deal with the life you don't want, from page 281. So 2 last sections. I'm pretty sure this video is a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. Oh no, I have so much to say. Anywho, things I have changed in my life since reading this book. I want to share that, and then I'm also going to share, we're going to end with the discussion questions, and then I'll fully close off the video. So, things I've changed since reading this book. I'm blacking out my prescription bottles. Do you throw them away in the trash? Like, where do you put old prescription bottles? I don't know, honestly. They just disappear. I put them on the counter and then they disappear, so I don't know. But blacking out on all this sort of identifying info and stuff. I reorganized and reordered several spots in my bedroom, which is great. It became a little chaotic again, but so more. I did also declutter some areas. I threw away some things. I let go, although not fully because they're still in a bag somewhere, but I let go of some of the summer clothing that I don't wear or am not going to wear or whatever, or no longer fits well or whatever it is. So that will be donated from the seasonal clothing swap. I will go back to this one in a minute. Rinsing some dishes after I use them, if I'm not fully cleaning it, I'm like rinsing it out. And then the habit links that I mentioned before. And then the really big one too that I have been doing more of, and I think I just mentioned it on a quote somewhere, I think, where it's like I've gotten more into a good habit of like knowing and recognizing that like right now I'm like sort of guaranteed right now, and like, sorry, I'm gonna sneeze, but I'm guaranteed right now, and I might as well do things right now and get them done when I know that I'm in the right headspace, I'm in the right sort of zone to get it done, rather than waiting until a future time that may never come and typically doesn't come. Or maybe if in the next hour or like the next 20 minutes I find out some other information or whatever, and then I'm in a totally different mood, and then it's like not going to be as possible to get it done in the future. Like I've just been approaching definitely work and also like life stuff a little bit more like that lately, where it's like I know what I can do right now, I'm capable of doing it right now, I should just do it right now just to get it done. And like sometimes I've like thought about it to myself as like the responsible thing would be to get it done now rather than put it off. And that way too, if I get it done now, then I don't have to do it later, and then I can kind of enjoy my time later, and then I can also like do other things and such. So like that kind of shift has been happening, which is great. And I think I'm starting to slowly learn more like time management kind of stuff and like do better use of my time. And I think probably some of that as well came from another book that I just finished reading called The Here and Now Habit, which talks all about mindfulness and sort of using mindfulness to break away sort of unhealthy or harmful habits and create healthier habits and such. So it's just been like a shift kind of happening, and it's pretty great. And I hope that these things continue on into the next few books that I read and the next few chapters ahead, in a sense. Hi. So, last few questions, discussion questions for you. First of all, how did this video book review go? I feel like it was still sporadic in a sense. I kind of just, go. So let me know what your thoughts were. I tried to do a script. I swear I did. I feel like it was still, I don't know, did it come across more in sync? Maybe when I actually edit it later, it will be a little bit more cohesive. I'm not sure. I tried. But anywho, I have 4 discussion questions for you. First one is, are there any well-known quotes that you always seem to misremember? There was one in this book that I will write into the review. So if you want to check out the review, the written review of it, feel free to go into my blog once it's actually posted in the description here. 2, any books on decluttering or organizing that you've read that have helped you? 3, do you find yourself integrating information, tips, ideas, and tricks into your daily living after you've read, particularly a book about it? Which is kind of a question I alluded to earlier. And 4, what are your favorite go-to quotes, prompts, ideas towards cleaning or decluttering that have stayed with you or motivated you forwards? Those are my discussion questions, and that is a wrap for this video. Again, video book review at least. Let's all take a deep breath together, right? We got through it, and it was interesting. I don't know how impactful it was as a video book review because I still feel like it was as chaotic as other times have been. So let me know honest thoughts in the comments, and I don't have enough space on my camera at the moment to film all the other videos that I want to film, so that's a huge problem that I have to deal with, especially tomorrow. I'm going to probably be editing quite a few videos, and hopefully I think it's going to be sunny in the morning, so I'm going to go out and do some autumn photography or video, well maybe not video, but like autumn photography for sure, and some things like that, and go to the library hopefully, and hopefully have a really productive day. That's what I'm really, really hoping for. And yeah, so again, this book, I'm about to go return it and pay off the 30 cents that I have on it that was from being overdue. And it was just a really, really great book. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I'm glad that I was able to read it. I think my life is better for having read it. To get really sappy, I suppose. But no, I genuinely, like, 5 out of 5. I totally recommend it. It's such a good book. I would definitely reread this again in the future, and just, I would love to actually reread books I've read in the past, and like just to see if there's a totally different take on it in a sense later in the future. And I am planning to also probably toss away these page flies, even though I'm technically not done with them. But I think I'll toss them anyway, just to kind of, you know, and return this, pay the fines, do all that. So what is a book that you are currently reading? Let me know in the comments. Do you read more nonfiction, or do you read more fiction, or do you read a bit of both? And the next books I have to review Adulting, and I also have to review The Here and Now Habit. The Here and Now Habit is my most recent one that I have to do, and which I also finished recently. And then the other book that one of the books you're on top of right now is The Gaslight Effect. That is my next book that I'm reading, so I might actually do that, start reading it tonight. So, anywho, too much of that info is kind of like a life update kind of thing. So, I'm gonna go before I keep talking more, and thank you for watching, and as always, stay safe. Much love and light to you. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Again, what are you reading? What have you been reading lately? Are we still interested in a recovery reads, recovery reads like Reddit thread, and like, is that like an interest of anyone? I don't know, but I want to film more channel related videos soon, but I have to find space in my camera before then, so that's the impasse we're at the moment. Anywho, the song in the background was New Again instrumental by Josh Woodward, so just as an aside. Anywho, thank you so much, bye!
Guiding like a lighthouse to I will leave the light on.